And of course, Australia's panoply of parrot-like birds, most of which I have not seen. The size of sparrows, slightly larger than a sparrow. These are budgerigars, which look a lot like the parakeet that I remember as a kid. This is a real crocodile that's been stuffed. It's probably as long as my kayak. And if you look at that body and the fact that it has jaws, probably can be opened wider. It's capable of swallowing a human being. And there's a ghastly picture I saw on this trip that showed a snake half swallowing a human being. I imagine a croc could do the same if it needed to, which it probably doesn't. It just tears them apart. Just examples of larger than normal beings. 3 looks like a giant praying mantis. We've seen many praying mantis not that large, though. Mollusks. Clam. Of course, the scorpions and spiders. This is a venomous sea snake. This is a destructive and toxic cane toad that was introduced for some reason. And now is a threat to all animals that eat it or touch it, except for, of course, the crow or the raven. This is a graphic representation of a timeline. 12 billion years ago, the Big Bang. It's down to 12, it was 16, who knows? 4.6 billion years. Almost 8 billion years after the Earth's Big Bang, the Earth formed. First life about 500 million years later. There's a comment in this display that's interesting that talks about the legendary sea of slime that organic molecules started to combine into living things. But it also alleges that some of the organic or living things we have arrived by meteorite. It's stated as a presumption. I had not heard of it as a presumption. This alleges that it was 250 million years ago, or 2.5 billion years ago, that there was the greatest mass extinction. It took almost 100 million years for Pangea to begin to break up after that extinction. This mastoterm is a giant termite, most primitive living termite. It does not construct mounds, but normally nests in log stumps and tree trunks. It will eat a wide range of unusual materials, including car tires, bags of flour, electrical cable, and wool. These termite mounds that we saw are the grass gatherers. It also says that a wide variety of other insects and invertebrates, highly specialized, can coexist within the termite mounds. This includes springtails, silverfish, cockroaches, beetles, spiders, mites, and slatters. Food supply for Ashitas, who know how to exploit the termites' obsession to fix damage. We're now in the Maritime Museum. You walk out of an air-conditioned room and bang, a wall of tremendous humid heat. This is an Indonesian boat. This is a purling lugger. This one looks like the boat that I paddled around in by myself in Indonesia somewhere. I can't remember where it was. On the videotape, this looks like a junk of some sort, but not quite. Look at the rather elaborate carving on that thing. It's interesting. Representing the different ways that people make their living. The vessels they use to do it. And could these vessels, or the precursors of these, have been what man might have used to get around the northern Pacific, down the coast of North and South America quickly? This is a Vietnamese refuge boat. It arrived in Darwin in June 1978 with 9 people aboard. It's actually a fishing trawler that was, commandeered for that purpose. The sail and rigging are polypropylene. Looks like so many bed sheets together, but apparently it works. This is a dugout canoe that held 10 people and made an amazing trip from Indonesia to Darwin in the cyclone season. Notice it's made out of one log. Apparently there were normally strakes on the side, in other words, separate boards that went up to give it less exposure to waves during the cyclone season, or any kind of season for that matter. 3 or 4 waves could not have been a surprise. They lived on just bare minimal amounts of food. Of course, the rigging here, the outrigging, would have been one of their greatest assets. They could always bail the boat, which probably wouldn't sink anyway. This is an Indonesian boat. My God, doesn't it? Looks like it was made like cartoon outhouses in the United States. Now look at this now. This is kind of curious. Not only the artwork along the side, but notice that it's got a little lean-to building that only takes up half of the side of the boat, giving good access to the rear for some reason. That's a much bigger boat. Well, look at that. It's interesting. Probably sat on that platform and everything else was filled with goods. Why wouldn't a ship like that have been able to make that trip? It's a Fijian boat, but why aren't Fijian boats and all the rest of these just simply the results of even earlier designs, perhaps by the Chinese? This must have been a pretty boat when it was first built, painted with pretty colors. hand-operated compressor for the diving suits of pearl divers. That's the quarter-grain sawn oak, I think. This would have been a pretty good-looking piece of equipment when it was first made. State-of-the-art. Darwin's Ocean is seen from the museum. Some kind of reef out there. You can see waves breaking over. I'm using any excuse I can to avoid going outside waiting for a bus back to Darwin. This is the olive python.